Welcome to episode 1 of the World Cup of Great Televised Darts Performances, where you get to vote for the greatest of them all. I'm joined by Paul Nicholson, who will talk you through each contender in 8 groups over the coming weeks, with the winner of each going through to the knockout stages. So, Paul, let's get cracking with Group A, featuring 4 incredible performances from the Ali Pali. First up, Rob Cross beating MVG in the semi-finals of the 2018 edition.
I think it's impossible not to include this because for me it's the greatest match ever witnessed on that big stage, and I was there to watch it from very close proximity. It wasn't just about the quality of the match, it was the quality of the crowd, their engagement, and we've all said in the past that it's not just the brilliance of the players that brings what you get from this kind of match, but you need misses as well. And that's exactly what you got right at the end, and that provided the ultimate match at Alexandra Palace for me.
Yeah, I mean, he said at the end, I've written a book this year, but that match alone, you could have written a book on. Taking it to that, the final set, him missing a match start, MVG missing 6, including 5 in one leg. It was just to hold it together in your debut season, your first ever World Championship. It's incredible what he did.
Absolutely. I think the confidence that he built up throughout the course of that year, leading up to this moment, it was testament to what he was capable of doing on the dartboard at the time. But there are players who play at home and privately in pubs and clubs and in academies who think, I just want one moment to grasp onto. When I'm older, there were probably 10 moments in that match. There were huge checkouts to win sets. There were immense clashes of brilliance between the two of them, and right there, they were the 2 players that everybody wanted to watch clash against each other, and it was just one of those firework moments that I don't think anybody's going to forget. It was that good a match.
And performance 2, it's one from MVG fans to cherish when he's on the winning side against Raymond van Barneveld in the 2017 World Championship semi-finals. As close to unplayable as you can get.
Has to be. You look at the way that the game progressed in the first 4 sets, you thought, if they can maintain this, we're looking at something from another planet. But in the middle part of that match, Michael seemed to find that extra piece of accuracy when he needed it. And he was taking out ton plus shots to win legs that were keen. You could see that they were hurting Raymond as well. And you just think, darts is a non-contact sport. Or sometimes you can feel what it feels like, when they hit a 114 checkout, something like that. And they were key shots in the middle of that match. Raymond could have gone on and done what Michael did to him, but ultimately Michael had that unplayable streak, and that was the best performance we've seen on that stage.
Yeah, I mean, he averaged 114, the highest in history, smashed Phil Taylor's record. Barney averaged 109. He didn't do anything wrong, and that was the highest for a defeat, I think, in the tournament history. And funnily enough, it was a year after Barney defied MVG's 105 average to win that epic. So all MVG did was say, right, I'll add 10 more onto that.
Yeah, I think when you look at Michael's motivation going into that game, he'd have been hurt from the defeat 12 months previous, and of course he wanted to get his world title back. So I think, we look back at Anderson when he lost to MVG, and his motivation for the next 2 years was to say, I don't want to feel like that again. That was Michael's motivation, and when he's motivated, he is without a doubt the best player in the world, and he showed it that night with one of the most eye-catching performances we've ever seen in a dartboard.
So next up, we've thrown in here the history-making Fallon Sherrock. And we've picked her victory over Mentosulovic over the actual glass ceiling smashing moment against Teddy Everts, even though the average was marginally lower than 90. But it's important to point out here when people are thinking, what, are you putting a 90 average in this? It's not all about averages, isn't it? Is it, when we're trying to pick out the greatest TV performances? Because we've got to take into account the pressure, and no one would have been under more pressure and history-making stakes than Fallon Sherrock that night.
Well, Fallon coming into this tournament was playing really well, and we all knew that she posed a threat to Ted. So when she beat Ted, it was a huge moment. But what changed between the Ted match and the Mentosulovic match is the exposure that she received. She was on TV everywhere. She was a worldwide sensation. So to soak that up and to be able to beat one of the best players in the world at the time in Mentosulovic just goes to show how she was able to handle not just the pressure of the game, but the pressure of the publicity, the pressure from everybody that was expectant. Now, I was there working at the event for this match, and there was not one person in that building who didn't have a pumping chest at the time. You know, the heart was throbbing, thinking, this is just one of those atmospheres that you rarely see outside of the final of a World Championship. Maybe the semi-finals when they put the laser show on and things like that, but the palpable atmosphere that night, I still remember it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we're in the middle of a pandemic and I'm craving those atmospheres again, but it was different.
Yeah, I was in the media bit then but I just had to go out into where the fans were, especially the last couple of sets, and the atmosphere, it was like a football crowd. You've got an arena which was, you know, predominantly men, but cheering her on, like, you know, just like a football crowd. It was like a bear pit atmosphere. And you think, what other sport could do this? And for her to respond to that, and I know she wouldn't have been thinking of people like Billie Jean King on that stage at that point, but all the hype before that, all the pressure on her shoulders, knowing all the global stars are watching her, doing it for women's sport. I don't think anyone's thrown a dart with that going on. Well, no one has, have they? And that's why this performance has to go in there to deal with all that. Relatively speaking, the pressure she was on, it would just be like anyone else playing in a World Championship final.
Yeah, we've had Lady Dart players under pressure since then. Dita Hedman, Lisa Ashton. You know, we've had Anastasia go into the bear pit, you know, against Remco van Eyden a few years ago, but this was different. You and I were in that press gantry. I was in the commentary box for the radio doing this match with Chris Mason. And I don't know if you remember the press VIP area where people take photographs and sample the atmosphere. You couldn't get in there.
Yeah.
There was about a 5-yard queue to get in there because there were that many people from around the world there for that match. That's how important it was.
Yeah.
It was a huge, huge moment. And for her to be able to answer that pressure with the win against Suljovic was just testament to how good that performance was.
With that with the checkout on the bullseye.
It had to be, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, this game's all about bullseye checkouts and fantastic ways of writing stories. Had to be on a bullseye checkout. It was a fabulous shot.
And the final match in this group, we have to have Phil Taylor, and it's when he dismantled Raymond van Barneveld 7-1 in the 2009 final, averaging 110. That was unplayable.
Definitely for Raymond at the time. I mean, we didn't really think that it was possible at that time for someone to average 110 in a World Championship final because of the pressure of the title being on the line, the longevity of the match, of course, being best of 13 sets. You just thought that maybe if you get 100 average and a good doubles percentage, that'll get you over the line. We've seen that in 2007 with Raymond and Phil. But this was one of those moments where, a bit like Sergei Bubka in the pole vault, this was raising the bar. This was effectively saying, this is what's possible. This is what you got to do to win a world title. And it was a watershed moment for everybody to say, if you want this title, this is what you got to do. Now, around about that time, Phil was invincible. Everything he was doing, he was touching it, it was turning to gold. European Championships, unplayable. Everything he did in 2009, it was just immense. Wherever he went, there was this aura about him. And this performance just proved that that was the best time of his career.
So all you have to do now is vote for your favourite below, and then the winner will advance to round 2. We'll be back next time with Group B of 4 more great performances.